Hello everybody, welcome to the Thursday edition of Video Clips, and I guess we'll continue the theme from Tuesday's edition, which is people who are ethically compromised. On that note, I've been a very major critic of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, formerly known as the American Dietetic Association, because of its cozy relationship to agricultural groups and food manufacturers. It's appalling, in my opinion, that this group takes money from almost any company that wants to give it, and then either promotes their products or remains silent about the adverse health consequences of consuming the manufacturer's products. And it's not unique to this organization, and financial conflicts of interest keep Americans from getting the right ideas about diet and health and medicine. But, I mean, this is America's group of dietitians, and people think, and they should, I don't think there's any reason why they shouldn't think, that they're a group of people who know best about nutrition. That's not necessarily the case, but you can see where a lot of confusion comes from. I have a lot of dietitian friends who don't agree with the A&D's policies. And in fact, a couple of members of the A&D, Andy Bellotti and Elizabeth Lee, are founders of a new group called Dietitians for Professional Integrity. Bellotti has posted a petition on change.org asking the A&D to cut its ties with companies that make junk foods, and so far almost 25,000 people, including me, have signed the petition. According to an article posted on Food Navigator, while the powers that be at the A&D met with Bellotti and Lee, the A&D is a little bit sensitive about the issue, and it's taken some actions that I think are actually quite questionable. For example, this year at the annual meeting, photography was prohibited on the convention floor. This action was, of course, supported by companies like Coca-Cola that are associated with the A&D. Now, I don't know if you've been the recipient, but I remember a few years ago when Dr. Campbell spoke at one of the A&D's meetings, he actually emailed me a picture he had taken of the conference bag with all of the sponsors' names all over it. And I've gotten pictures from people of the row upon row upon row of booths that are all food companies, junk food manufacturers, sponsoring the meetings and sponsoring the meeting itself, the conference itself, and then sponsoring the individual meetings. So I'm sure that the A&D would like to eliminate the negative conversation that goes on about such things, but the fact that they're using censorship to avoid this, I think it would make things worse, in my opinion. And it also lets me know that they do know that what they're doing is questionable, if not wrong. Now, according to Bellotti, the same conflicts of interest were in place at this year's conference. His conference bag included a sheet called Aspartame is Safe. This was provided by Coca-Cola's Health and Wellness Institute. What a great group that must be. He also reported that the presentations were all pretty one-sided. For example, a session called Sustainable Nutrition, Will We Be Able to Feed the World in 2050? Was presented by the National Dairy Council, a sponsor, and it spun the story that dairy was a sustainable source of protein and nutrients. Now, of course, the science completely refutes this idea, but nobody was invited to give another point of view about it. Well, I'm pleased that these two responsible dietitians have been able to generate so much interest, but they are really fighting an uphill battle. I mean, the A&D's relationship with industry and ag goes way, way back and runs very, very deep, and it represents a significant portion of the group's income, so they're not going to give up on this easily. But what you can do is go to change.org and sign the petition. And I think the good news about this, not so much that it's going to change the A&D's policies as much as it's bringing attention to how insidious these relationships really are to the general public. And I think we just have to get information out there. That's our big challenge. We have got to get this message out to more people. So I wish I had my own show on network TV. Of course, I would probably be assassinated or canceled within a week of the first airing. But in any case, I wish I had a platform like that to talk about some of these things. Okay, we'll finish up with an article that won't surprise many of you. Oreos are as addictive, or maybe even more so, than drugs. And any of you who've eaten cookies in the past, Oreos, any other cookie, if you're like me, there is no such thing as eating one. I'll eat the whole bag if they're there. Not in one sitting, by the way. I'm very clever about it. I get 2 or 3 cookies at a time until I eat the whole bag, but the same result. It all happens in a day or a couple days. So anyhow, according to research conducted at the University of Connecticut, Oreo cookies are even more addictive than cocaine. Eating the cookies activates more neurons in the pleasure center of the brain than drugs do. The finding was the result of research on rats, which interestingly enough eat the middle of the cookie before they eat the chocolate cookie part, just like the humans do. So in one experiment, rats in one chamber were given Oreos, and then they were given rice cakes in another chamber. The rats given the Oreos split them in half, ate the filling, then ate the cookie. And most of the time they didn't even finish the rice cakes, by the way. When the food was removed, the rats preferred to spend more time in the chamber where they got the Oreos. They really weren't too much interested in going back to where they'd gotten the rice cakes. So in another experiment, rats were given cocaine or morphine in one chamber and a saline solution in another chamber. The solutions were removed, and then they saw where the rats wanted to spend their time. And of course, they wanted to go to the chamber where the drugs had been dispensed, not the saline solution. And they spent about the same amount of time there as they did when the choice was cookies or rice cakes. They liked the cookies and they liked the drugs, about the same. Now, the researchers used a measurement tool to look at a protein called CFOS, a marker for activation of pleasure centers of the brain. The Oreos activated more neurons than either cocaine or morphine. I guess it's maybe a little bit better to be addicted to Oreos than cocaine, but my gosh, it sure does explain why we can't stop eating them. Faculty researcher Joseph Schroeder said, "Our research supports the theory that high-fat, high-sugar foods stimulate the brain in the same way that drugs do. It may explain why some people can't resist these foods despite the fact that they know they're bad for them." Schroeder will be presenting the research at a conference for the Society of Neuroscience in San Diego, California shortly. So this is why we continue to give the advice here at the Wellness Forum that if you're going to be successful adopting this health-promoting diet, you got to get this stuff out of the house. You just cannot play willpower games with yourself in the kitchen with Oreos and chocolate and all this stuff in the house. It pulls on you just like drugs do. So get rid of it and stay away from it and don't eat it. It's not, and you don't have a character defect. I mean, some people come in here and they tell me that they wish that they were stronger. Well, you're not going to get strong enough to resist something that's as powerful as drugs, so you better just get rid of it. All right, that's all for now. Have a wonderful rest of the day and weekend, and I will be back to you again next Tuesday.